Hello CSCM, welcome to the Hunt Club Kitchen. My name's Samuel Fiore and I'm the executive chef, and today we're going to be talking about and cooking a tomahawk ribeye steak chop. What we see here now is called rail beef. So at the Hunt Club we dry age all of our premium cuts of beef for our members. And what you can see here is a cross section of the rib, which we purchase from a local farm in Eastern Ontario. Here we have the eye of the rib, the spiralis steak, the skirt steak area, and the short rib. A lot of these other parts will be butchered off till we get down to the eye. We like to keep the spiralis steak on it as well, that we're going to be reverse searing for our recipe today. As well, we're going to be doing a couple different sides that we like to serve here at the club. And right here I have the butchered down tomahawk chop. This particular steak is over 30 ounces, and you can see what we've kept is the spiralis, the cap, and the ribeye. We're going to reverse sear this, but first we're going to bake it on a baking sheet with a rack underneath at 225 degrees. We're going to slow cook it till it reaches an internal temperature of 115 to 120 degrees, at which point in the next section we're going to take it out and reverse sear it in whole butter. Okay, so we've got our tomahawk dry aged ribeye steak cooked to an internal temperature about 115 to 120 degrees. We bake this in the oven at oven temperature of 225 degrees. Here I have a smoking hot pan, and I'm going to add some of our whole butter. You see, this is going to be pretty hot right off the bat. I'm going to put the ribeye in right into that nice butter. See that searing. I'm going to season with a little Maldon salt here. And today for some side dishes, what I like to serve with a tomahawk ribeye, we have some rapini, some roasted shallots, some mini creamer potatoes, and I'm also sauteing some wild mushrooms. So in this pan, we're going to add a little rosemary and a little garlic, and I'm going to put a couple of sprigs of fresh thyme in here. And that gives it a nice flavor. Okay, good. And this is just searing away nicely. And you can see that garlic and the herbs I'm going to use to baste the steak. Well, I have our mushrooms going here. This is a real nice sear on these wild mushrooms. We want to get a nice crust on this steak while we're getting this garlic going. Nice hot pan. You can see it smoking a little bit, but that butter is just fusing into the meat, adding an additional flavor. What we want to get here is a nice crust that sears and locks in the juices. It's a new form of cooking steak, which is called reverse sear. A lot of chefs are doing it. In the last couple years, become very popular. Getting a final sear on our mushrooms here. You can see those are nice and caramelized. I'm just checking my ribeye steak. This garlic is caramelizing nicely. I'm going to take some of these juices and just baste the top as well. And we're forming a beautiful sear on that ribeye. So I'm going to take these mushrooms to the plate for your presentation, just beside some of the other side dishes there. These are wonderful. I have a little garlic and fresh thyme and salt and pepper. And these got a nice caramelization. These are a combination of shiitake mushrooms, oyster mushrooms, some button mushrooms, some Perini rough mushrooms. Flipping this steak over, you can see this nice crust here. The juices with the garlic. It's a very tender piece of meat. This particular rib is a prime cut of beef, and we've dry aged this for 45 days in a controlled temperature with a controlled UV light. And what happens is the meat stuff begins to deteriorate on the outside, which has to then be trimmed off, and only the inside part of the rib is what we use to cook. Okay. Getting nice and hot here. I'm just raising it around in this meat. I'm going to be taking off the spiralis steak and slicing that separately. Most of the time at the butcher, you will get this ribeye with just the eye and not the spiralis steak attached. But sometimes you can ask your butcher if he has a nice piece of dry aged meat, or if he's dry aging the meat himself to keep that piece of the spiralis steak on. It's a bit two different cuts of meat on this particular one, but both of them very nice. The eye of the ribeye being the most tender. So now that I have the proper amount of searing time for this tomahawk chop, I'm going to take it to the cutting board, cut off my heat here, get it a little bit more in that nice butter and herbs, basting and marinating in the garlic. Maybe one more flip there. You can see the nice color now that's come on that steak. Right away, I'm going to just remove this spiralis steak, take a few cuts to this. Nice presentation here. Nice thick pieces. Now this is the spiralis cap of the steak. I'll put this just in the front here. Nice color on that steak. Now I'm going to take the ribeye off the bone. We got this beautiful long bone that I'm going to want to make a nice presentation here. We've got the two cuts of meat here. And then we go into our ribeye. Dry aged tomahawk steak. Beautiful rare. I'm just going to, those of you who like your steak rare, I'm just going to make a presentation on the cutting board here. There you have it. Dry aged in-house from farm to table in Eastern Ontario. Dry aged tomahawk rib chop if you want to impress the neighbors. If you're having family over for a special occasion, this is a wonderful meal to present, and you'll be the star chef if you cook this tomahawk ribeye for all your friends and family. Thank you for joining us at the Toronto Hunt Kitchen, and enjoy cooking, and bon appetit.